big time fight coming up this weekend. We have the former Octagon heavyweight champ, Badys Martin Buday, and he was able to get a win in his UFC debut in very, very controversial fashion, and that's the kind of sticking point of this entire video. Martin Buday won by technical decision because he threw downward elbows to the back of Chris Barnett's head. Lukasz Brzeski, who's on this card as well, the Bull, so he stole his nickname from John Makdessi. Wow. The Bull. He's been in the UFC for over 10 years. For Brzeski, won on Contender Series last year. It's overturned to a no contest due to the presence of clomiphene in a drug test. He won that fight over Dylan Potter, who came in on short notice, and it was a fun fight. We all enjoyed it. But did Dylan Potter tap? Well, Mark Smith thought so. I didn't. My eyes didn't.
If Mark Smith was there, though.
Mark Smith saw the tap. I mean, Alistair Overeem felt the tap.
Okay, you were at home watching. Mark Smith was in the cage.
I saw every angle. He didn't tap.
Mark Smith was there. If he saw a tap, how can you disagree with it?
I disagree with it.
That's
but regardless, we come into this fight where we have two styles that match up so well together. And it's such a fun fight. I mean, you can attack it from this angle. I mean, you have Slovakia's Martin Buday, the second man out of Slovakia in the UFC, next to his teammate at a Spartacus fight gym, Ludwig Klein. And I said team out, not teammate, but listen, team in, because the team over
Ludwig
at Spartacus...
Klein's so hot right now.
Ludwig Klein is undefeated fighting out of Spartacus, and he's defeated fighting out of Sanford MMA. He's 0-2 over there. Martin Buday's 1-0 in the UFC fighting out of that gym. Spartacus has got it going on right now. For Lukasz Brzeski, a guy out of Poland, he's trained at so many different gyms, so many different great fighters. He obviously referenced Jan Blachowicz quite a bit when he was coming into the UFC. Obviously, sketchy circumstances over A, a controversial tap, but B, the no contest and the 9-month suspension after the fact. But when I break these two guys down stylistically, Matt, I can talk out of both sides of my mouth for both guys here earning victories inside of the octagon, and that doesn't happen every day. I love this fight booking. I think it's just, I think it's fair, and I think the fans are really going to like this one.
I'm really excited for Lukasz at the UFC level because, again, looking at his fights prior to this, there are some very nice skills that he can build upon once he does get to this level. I brought up a lot, we were talking before the camera started rolling. I love his ability to finish opponents up against the cage, not even just to finish them. I just like the scenarios he goes through, because how many fighters do we see? They get their opponent in a good position and they go buck wild. They don't really worry about their technique. They just get very overzealous with their style of fighting. We see this all the time. Then you look at someone like in last weekend's co-main event, for instance. Jeff Neal got Vicente Luque hurt, did not get wild at all. And Jeff Neal's someone who we've talked about a lot on this channel for just how intelligent he is with his finishing patterns. Look at how he did to Luque. Hurt him, hit him with 47 uppercuts.
Took the second round off and then just absolutely went motorboat in the third round.
He was Bangkok ready, that's for damn sure, in that third round. But what I like out of Lukasz is, when he gets guys up against the cage, he's not just a headhunter. He's not someone who's going to throw a lot of left and right hooks hoping for the finish. Go to the body, he will use his kicks effectively in this manner. But this fight, more than any other on the card, is going to come down to what Teddy Atlas likes to refer to as geography. Who can get this fight to where they want it to be better? Because if Buday's the one pushing forward, being very aggressive with his striking style, not really worried about the power coming back his way, and if he is able to use some of his own grappling, I really do think he can have a very nice path to success in this matchup. Even though, for Lukasz, he does have submission wins, but they're not necessarily like, oh, he's Damian Maia. You know, I look at them a little bit more as like, maybe not even Carl Robertson. That's not a good example either.
Even when he was taking on Potter, the commentary was like, well, he's off to the side. He's not even on the back. It was like an AJ Dobson submission. He's on the side going for a rear naked. You think, well, that's not going to work at this level.
And you're probably going to agree with me on this. One of the first things I noticed with Lukasz, he's got to be so strong. Like, if you're fighting him, you have to be worried about every punch he throws, and you have to be worried about if he is able to dig underhooks. And I think underhooks, overhooks, not to sound like Dominic Cruz, one half of this weekend's main event, I think those will be very important in this fight.
So, in the matchup for Brzeski taking on Dylan Potter, he gets the win, it's controversial. Dana White, after the fact, said, I'm on the fence with Lucas. Say what you want. He didn't tap. He wasn't getting out of that choke, so they ended up signing him regardless. He did get a win on the regional scene over Ednaldo Oliveira, who was in the UFC, fought Gabriel Gonzaga and lost to him. He had 2 fights he lost, and since then he's fought some guys. But for Brzeski, the level of competition, not really the greatest. He was also a minus 445 favorite over Potter. But what I did like out of Brzeski that I was able to see on the regional scene and in the fight against Potter, he starts every fight off by throwing 15 to 20 hard leg kicks. Closing the distance, throwing chopping calf kicks, and you like to see that. Softens up his opponent, and then he can get into his boxing. And Lukasz Brzeski, his boxing's really weird. It's not super technical. He does kind of like to throw his left hand out straight to just kind of like wing his right hand. There's a lot of power on it. He doesn't have good takedown defense, Brzeski, at all. Like that fight against Michal Kita, that's a guy that's fought a really good level of competition over on the Polish scenes. Doesn't matter the organization. He's fought a lot of guys that you know, that you love. You've seen Kita on some of those records. In that fight, Kita was able to really just ground out Brzeski.
He was.
Take him down, hold him up against the rage. And you might go, Craig, what's a rage? Have I heard of that before? Well, M1 Global used to have it. And Babylon also had it.
Can I be honest? It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
So if you've never heard of it before, picture this. If you're 6 feet tall, 5'11", 6'2", whatever, you can figure this out. If we're talking like my calf down, well, that's a chain link fence.
I would just say, look at a boxing ring. Up until the first rope, it is cage.
It's cage. It's like a baseball field. It's whatever you want to think. It's chain link. Above that, it's a ring. You can get a little creative, but not really. Do you train with it? Probably not, unless you're in some like underground whisper network in Europe. But I did look at that as Lukasz has great kicks, closes distance well, backs guys up, then he can work his striking attack, and he will go body, head. He will mix it up that way, and that's what I like out of Lukasz Brzeski, the bull.
I do too, but that's the problem that I run into with this fight is, hey, Lukasz might have the more eye-catching talent. What he does is definitely more exciting. But what Martin Buday does with his forward pressure, his basic boxing, if we even want to call it that, and his overwhelming grappling, is kind of the perfect key to solve the riddle that is Lukasz. Because if Lukasz is able to stay at the heavyweight division, first of all, I'm curious to see if he stays in the heavyweight division, if I'm being honest. Kind of one of these tweeners, almost like a Chris Daukaus I look at. Like, I'm not going to say this outright, but like Chris Daukaus, if he really wanted to, could probably be a light heavyweight. And I only say that because
we thought that was the plan.
And Stipe Miocic in the past had talked about like, hey, I could probably make light heavyweight, and he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, and they're all sort of in that same frame. So I will be curious to see who they match Lukasz up with in his UFC career if he does stay around for a while, just because he is one of these weird tweeners in the division.
When it does come to these guys on Contender Series, Martin Buday fought Lorenzo Hood on Contender Series. Lorenzo had a little bit of success until he didn't, but Hood was also a Buday was also a minus 400 favorite against Hood, so both these guys were giant favorites in their matchups on Contender Series. But when we do look at this, I mean, for Buday, he fought the Ben Rothwell game plan against Chris Barnett that we assumed he would, and that looked good. That's been the game plan throughout all of Martin Buday's career except for one fight. Again, he was the former Octagon heavyweight champ. The one fight that he had where he didn't fight like he normally does was against Camille Minda, who was a 36-year-old heavyweight a little over a year ago. And in that fight, Minda fought like Lukasz Brzeski fights, and threw a ton of leg kicks in the first round. Buday doesn't check leg kicks. Buday couldn't figure out range. Buday got bloodied up. And then in the second round, Buday started to press a little bit of a pace, landed a jab, and Minda fell down, and that was the end of the fight. That's the only time I've seen Buday in a fight where I go, geez, that could cause me issues. And in this matchup, that's the one. This is the one.
I gotta be honest with you though, Buday does have a game that I think you can improve upon. Like, I don't think we have seen the finished product, and I agree with you. For the most part, he has fought in the same manner up until this point, but only 30 years of age in the heavyweight division, there's a long way to grow.
If Marcin Tybura, the Sergey Spivaks of the world, we move up into the rankings, Martin Buday's my guy, because fights behind a jab, 1-2, throws an uppercut. He'll hit the body. He tries to go for the clinch, take you down. If he doesn't, he's just going to wear. He is a big body heavyweight, 264.5. So he is also brown belt in BJJ, so I'll give him that prop. And he was no-gi European champ at ultra heavyweight in 2013, 2015. So the jiu-jitsu is there if you want those credentials, but he doesn't have a lot of the answers for the kicks. And that kind of worries me against Brzeski that likes to start off hot and heavy with the kicks. So we look at the odds.
Can't get kicked when you're fighting a guy who's on his back, though.
We look at the odds in this one. Buday open minus 200, minus 248. Brzeski open plus 170, plus 195. I'm saying Lukasz Brzeski because that's how he said it in the preview for Dana White's Contender Series. I've heard it said a couple of different times. We look at the topology votes, Matt, in this one. I have no idea where they are. I think that they're going to be closer than the odds might suggest. So I'm going to say over under 70% Buday, because he did beat a fan favorite, Chris Barnett.
I was going to say 70% Buday, so I'll say over.
And it is over, so 690 total votes, 86% Buday, 31% by decision, 63% by knockout. For the 14% that are going with Diddy Tap, Brzeski, 49% by decision, 43% by knockout. The top doesn't concern me. He's in the UFC anyway. The Clomiphene is what it is. But when I look at this matchup, Matt, I like Martin Buday when he walks guys down, when he wears them out, and I think that's a game plan that's tailored to beat Brzeski. I've talked about the leg kicks. I can see a world where Brzeski lands a couple of those leg kicks, lead left hook, wings a right hand, and knocks out Buday, which is much easier said than done. But I do like Buday for the steadiness, and that's why I'm picking him in this fight.
I would rather pick a fight who is susceptible to getting leg kicked than pick a fighter who can get taken down against a very good wrestler. Because that's the thing. You get hit by a leg kick, it might suck really bad for those 5 seconds, but you're going to get past that in another 5. If you get taken down, there's not much you can do if you don't have a good game off your back or great takedown defense. And all the things I love about Lukasz, like, I think him against OSP at the heavyweight division, like, that'd be a fun fight. There are fights out there for him to have that would be very entertaining, but I do have a hard time seeing him match up, especially physically, against a lot of these bigger guys in the heavyweight division. So I agree with you. I do like Buday in this matchup, but I think it could be a fun one.
Both of us going with Slovakia's Badys, Martin Buday to get the win. Let us know down below in the comment section if Mark Smith made the right call. Let us know who you have in this fight. We have some big time matchups on this card, including Marlon Vera and Dominic Cruz at the top. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.